Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. Welcome to the February 26, 2019 Clutter Conversation webcast. I'm your moderator, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. Our topic today is Spring into Organizing, 19 Ways to Jumpstart Your Decluttering. Before we get started, a few notes for anyone who's joining us for the first time. Gayle will present a list of ideas to get you moving, and then we'll have time for your questions. If you have a question as we go along, feel free to share it via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle answers it before we get away to another topic. You can use also use the raise hand feature to let me know if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And now over to you, Gayle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the February 2019 Houston Clutter Coaching Meetup event online. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today, and I'm happy to have people from out of the United States listening. That's super exciting. Our happy friend Denise from France, who's been following Clutter Fairy for a long time, showed up in a live event today. So I'm super excited to have you, Denise. Thank you so much. We are going to talk about 19 ways to jumpstart your decluttering. Because it's a hot second before spring down here in Houston, and that gives you this sensation of it's time to air things out and open things up and start straightening up. It gives you that little feeling of, I need to start cleaning out the stuff. And so as spring approaches and you start getting that pull, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? You need some projects to get started. So we're going to talk about those today. I actually spent a lovely day on Sunday cleaning out the patio. We had one break in the dreary, rainy weather for 24 hours. We had a clear blue sky and low humidity and beautiful sunshine. And so that's when you open all the doors and windows and you let all the breezes come through the house and you start airing out your stuff. And it feels like it's time to let the fresh air in. And so I got to do that on Sunday. It was just a little teaser because the dreary weather is back again. So we're not quite there, but it was the little teaser to tell us that spring is just around the corner. So it's time to start thinking about what is going to happen next. What's your first spring project you're going to get into when the spring finally arrives and you're ready to tackle a project. So let's start our list. Number one, clear out your junk drawer. Everybody has that junk drawer in the kitchen, and it's one drawer, whether it's a small or a big drawer, depends on the kitchen, but it's going to be a drawer. And in that drawer is a hodgepodge of stuff that you have swept off the counter, thrown in the counter because something landed in the kitchen. It didn't have anything to do with the kitchen, and you wanted it off the counter, so you threw it into that drawer. I think when people move into houses, they decide they need a junk drawer because they want to have a few tools in the kitchen and they want to have some stamps and they want to have some rubber bands. You know, there's a few little things that they think should be in a junk drawer in the kitchen. And then over time, it just becomes the local dumping ground for anything that ends up on the counter that you don't want to look at anymore, and you shove it in the junk drawer. So this is the perfect small container. It's a few hours to, pull it out, sort all the contents, find out what's in there, and then you can make some decisions about what should be in the junk drawer again. You're going to reset the junk drawer to hold the things that you actually want to be there. Yes, I want a screwdriver. Yes, I want a flashlight. Yes, I want the spare set of house keys. No, I don't want, a Christmas card that came while I was unloading the groceries. And no, I don't want this piece of trash. And you can make those decisions about what should be in there and then take everything else out, trash, recycle. There'll be things that landed in a drawer that really belong in another place in your house, and so you can go distribute those things to the next place in the house, and then you will have a junk drawer that you can actually manage. Once you decide what's going to stay and you've cleared out everything that's going to go, then you can containerize the contents in the junk drawer. So you can get random little small containers that are, they usually need to be no more than a couple of inches high so that the drawer can open and close easily. But you can containerize the contents with any container that will fit in the drawer. So Gladware, Ziploc, containers that people use, or you can go to the dollar store or go to the Target or wherever and buy some little thin containers, or there's also expand to fit junk drawer inserts that you can put in that basically create a bunch of compartments, and it just expands. It's designed to slide out wider to fit the drawer exactly. So you can go low tech and get out the Gladware that you have in the house already, or you can go you know, more fancy and go buy something specifically designed for a junk drawer. But either way, you can get something to help you containerize what ends up being the permanent residence of the junk drawer. And hopefully now when you open the drawer, you'll be able to see in and find what you want. And it won't take very long to do it. That's definitely a couple-hour project. Okay, number 2, clear off the floor of your closet. And I say this because I often go into clients' houses and you open the closet door and you can't walk into the closet because there's a bunch of shrapnel on the floor. This is another place where people stash things that they don't want to deal with. Like they come home from the store and they've been shopping and they throw things into the bottom of the closet floor and close the door without unpacking or putting anything up. They kick off their shoes, they throw clothes off that are dirty and throw them on the floor, and eventually the floor is covered and you can't get to the clothes in the closet hanging on the clothes rods because the floor is covered. So a closet is not typically an afternoon, couple-hour project. Revamping an entire closet is going to be a day or 2 days, depending on how many clothes and how much you have to try on and how dense it is and how many other things are in the closet. But you can do stage 1 of that closet by just clearing the floor. So that's a perfect spring project. Do it for a couple hours, uncover the floor, and you can come back and do more of the closet later. You're going to find shoes in there that are, you know, got to find all the matches. The parts may be all over the place, so find all your shoes and match them up. Pull out everything that is an unpacked bag, or if you took your own tote, a reusable bag, and carried stuff and then threw the tote in there, it's time to unpack all of those unpacked totes and take all the parts and put them away. You're going to probably find things on the bottom of the floor that really don't belong in the closet. They just got stashed there because somebody was coming over or because it was making you annoyed or you tripped it in the middle of the night or whatever. There's going to be some things that need to come out of the closet and go to the place where they're supposed to go. Maybe you have a piece of luggage in there that you took on a trip and you came home from the trip and you never unpacked the luggage completely or at all. So now's the time to pull that off the floor, unpack the contents, and, you know, take the luggage and put it away where it normally lives. If you can just spend a couple of hours to clear off the floor and don't look up at all, don't concentrate on anything over your head, just uncover the floor, then after a couple of hours, you should be able to walk into your closet again completely. And then you have a launching pad for you to come back another day and focus on cleaning out the rest of the closet and all the trying on clothes and all of the stuff you have to do in order to make that happen. So clearing out the floor in the closet is a perfect spring cleaning project. Number 3, go to the medicine chest in your bathroom, or bathrooms, plural. You may have it in more than one place. A bathroom is this little tiny cabinet, little bitty shelves. There's not very much in, they don't hold a huge amount of stuff. But typically they have things in there that expire. So you're going to have medications in there that need to be vetted and thrown away that are not safe to use anymore. And you're going to have things that are current that you've been leaving on the counter because there wasn't room in the medicine cabinet. And so I would go through all the contents in the medicine cabinet, pull everything out, get rid of the stuff that you don't want anymore, including makeup, lip balm, you know, anything that's not prescription, but other kinds of ointments, I guess, or potions or lotions that are in there. Make sure it's stuff that you would use and make sure that it's current and you consider it works for your own sense of safety about whether you'd be willing to use it or not, and then put it back in. This is another place where getting long, thin containers that are, you know, 2 inches tall and long, and probably only 2 inches wide at the most, maybe 1.5 inches. They make long, narrow containers that are perfect to sit on those little skinny shelves inside of a medicine cabinet. So containerizing in there will help you hold up all those little lipsticks and all the little ointment things with the Yeah, there's all these little bottles and jars that are small and skinny and tiny and floppy. They always are falling over in the medicine chest. And so putting some containers into that medicine chest and getting rid of the stuff that you don't want will allow you to take things off your counter that you're using currently and putting them into the medicine chest instead. That's a project that you can tackle in a couple hours for sure and end up with a really functional medicine chest again. Number 4, head for the linen closet. The thing about the linen closet is that there's always a whole lot of stuff in, like people's stuff, blankets, sheets, towels, all the pillowcases, all the hand towels, all the wash rags, all of the if a sleeping bag might show up in there, the bedspreads might show up in there, the decorative pillowcases might show up in there. You're going to have all that kind of stuff shoved in there. But when you fold all that stuff up, each one of them takes up a whole lot of space. Like one sheet set is going to take up a space this high. So while it looks super stuffed and overwhelming, in reality, when you pull it out, it's not that many pieces. It's not like, you know, it's not like trying to empty out the silverware drawer in the kitchen where there's a million pieces in there. There's going to be a whole lot of space, but it's not full with that many pieces. So pull all the contents out and sort and just match up all the sheet sets. Oh, here's the pillowcase for that set over here. And here's, you know, pull all your pieces together again, and then start subtracting what is not being used. So lots of time people add into the linen closet and they never take out. And so if you actually pull it all out, you're going to find sheet sets in bed sizes that you don't own anymore. A lot of times people will have twin sheets from when their kids slept on a twin bed, but they've long since graduated to a queen, or vice versa. They had a queen and that one left the house and you replace it with a twin because the room became a dual purpose room. So you're going to have sheets for beds that you don't own anymore. So those sheets definitely need to go. And then the sheets that actually fit on the beds that you own and are using, you want to vet those for, is the stretchy part of the fitted sheet still any good? Is it really stained? Is it really sticky, ugly, scratchy? Fill in the blank, right? Take all those sheets out that you would not actually put on the bed because you don't like them, and leave yourself with a set of, here's 2 or 3 changes of sheets, and that should be plenty. If you have 2 or 3 changes for each bed size or each bed, if you prefer that way, then you should be in great shape to handle anybody that's coming to use any of your beds. The thing about blankets is everybody gives us blankets. We receive them as gifts a lot at Christmas time. There's, oh, here's a new fuzzy blanket. You will probably have a gazillion blankets in the house and you will not be using all of them. And so even if you have 15 guests, you will probably have more blankets than you need for even that invasion of people. So you want to vet through all of the blankets that you've shoved into the linen closet for when you're going to need all of them. And try to get down to how many people am I actually going to have in the house? How many blankets would I ever require in one day, in one sitting? And get the population down to something that makes sense to what your possibilities are. Blankets take up a huge amount of room, and so even if you take out 1 or 2, you're going to get a bunch of breathing space back into the linen closet. The same thing is true for towels. We tend to buy matching sets of towels, and then we upgrade the bathroom, or we change the decor and we buy another set of towels, and so the old towels get in the closet and they're still good, but you'd never put them out because they're not part of the decor anymore, or you wouldn't put them out because they were scratchy, or you didn't like that they didn't absorb the water very well, or whatever. There's going to be lots of towels in there that you would not use now because they don't meet your standards, whatever those standards are. It's time to take those out and donate them to a vet. Any kind of a vet that is doing any kind of hospital work or boarding work or grooming work is going to be using a ton of linens. Sheets and towels and blankets are the perfect kind of donation to give to a vet. So if they wouldn't work in your house and they won't, like you wouldn't be comfortable giving them to your friend or giving them to Goodwill because they're not in good enough shape, you can absolutely take those things to a vet, and a vet doesn't care what they look like. They just care about the fabric. So they are a great donation to give to a vet. If you do that in the linen closet, you will end up with a huge amount of breathing space. And the other thing you'll find in the linen closet is it's kind of this central house storage place for other kinds of things. So while you're pulling out the linens, you're probably going to also find the stash of candles or candlesticks or old pictures or whatever. You can vet those as a separate lot if you want one day. As a spring cleaning project, I would just concentrate on the linens, getting them under control, and then putting back in an organized manner what you want to keep. Okay? All right. Next is number 5. Imagine that you had a party, and right before the party, you're like, oh my God, we got to hide all this paper. And you swept a bunch of mail off into a box and you went and stuck it in a closet somewhere. If you have one of those mail boxes full of mail in your closet somewhere in the house that you stashed, spring cleaning is the perfect time to go get that box out and go through that mail. It is going to be super well marinated at this point. It will have been in there and you will have ignored it for a long time. And now if you bring it out to go through it, it's going to be bills that you've already paid. It's going to be events that have already happened. It's going to be grocery store circulars that are months or years old. It's going to be super easy to sort this paper. Old paper is fast paper. That's what I'm saying. So now's the time to pull out that box, go through all that mail, find the one piece of paper that you've been looking for months, and let everything else go to recycling or trash. That will make a huge dent. Anybody that's ever taken a container, filled it up with mail, and shoved it somewhere has used up a couple of square feet in some closet or room or corner somewhere that you can uncover just by pulling that out and sorting that stuff out. So tackle it, and it'll be easy because it'll be old and you won't have any problem getting through the paper, I promise. Number 6. Particularly in the spring, after the holiday season has gone by, you know that somewhere in your house is a 4-foot high stack of magazines and catalogs. Am I right? Somewhere in there is a whole bunch of magazines sitting around on the coffee table, in the corner, in the magazine rack, in the back, in the kitchen on the counter. There's magazines in little piles everywhere. So as a spring project, tackle those magazines and catalogs. Run around and grab all those piles, bring them together, and sort through them. And I would tell you that the best way to do it, I think, is to sort it by date first. So you can sort it by year, and these are 2 years old, this is last year, this is this year, and then the stuff that's this year, I would sort by month. And then give yourself some kind of a cutoff. Imagine, I'm going to throw away everything 6 months or older, or I'm going to throw away everything a year or older. And see if you can let yourself apply that cutoff rule to the stack of magazines. So everything that's a 2017 magazine, can you throw it away? Cool. It's before the cutoff. See if you can let that go. Now, I know everybody has a favorite magazine. If you're into decorating, for instance, you probably have a subscription to Architectural Digest and you just love that magazine. So you want to keep all of the copies of the Architectural Digest, but the rest of them you can apply the rule to. So if there's 1 or 2 magazines where you're keeping them all fine, you can pull those out, but then apply your cutoff rule to everything else. And if you can do that, then you can probably wholesale out a whole bunch of paper that can go to recycling, or it can go to some kind of school project or something like that where people are cutting things out. I will tell you, when you try to take things to school, the magazines, they don't want magazines that are racy. So things like Vogue, the ads are too racy and the parents get twitchy about that. So you may have to be a little bit more careful if you're going to donate them to use somewhere. If you find an artist or a classroom that is interested in having them, you got to either vet them and make sure they're happy with the contents, or they're going to throw away some that they think are not appropriate for the kids. Otherwise, you put them in the recycle bin and you move on. But if you can just see what your cutoff rule is and make that application, cut them off and let them go behind the cutoff rule, you will thin the herd immensely. Catalogs, you don't really need the cutoff as much as you need to find the current one, the most current version, because all of the other versions, once the new version comes out, the newest catalog comes out, what's in the new catalog is what's actually for sale. What's in the old catalog is now no longer applicable. So if it's still for sale, it's in the new catalog. If they've sold out of it, it's not in the new catalog. So the old catalogs need to go for sure. And that's an easy one to, like, I'm not buying from them. Oh, I've got the new J. Crew catalog. I don't need the other 47 J. Crew catalogs, right? So you can let go of the stuff that way. It's real easy, and the magazines and catalogs take up a lot of room, and it's really easy to thin that herd and give yourself a bunch of space back. And you can do that definitely, depending on how much of an avid magazine collector you are, you can really make some space and thin the herd in a couple of hours without any trouble.
Hey, Gail, great comment from Sheila. She said, we donate our old magazines to our local chemotherapy infusion center.
Ooh!
And she says, as a former chemo patient, I can say more centers are in desperate need for reading materials for patients.
Right, because you're sitting there and you're trapped for however long you have to sit there and get the infusion, and you're bored out of your mind, right? What a great idea. And you know what? We're in the Texas Medical Center here. There's got to be some waiting rooms around that need that. That's a great idea. So, and for, you know, people that are getting chemo, you know, it's the Vogue isn't too racy, right? So that's a perfect example of, here's a whole bunch. So then if, you know, if you're worried about your name, you can, you know, use the marks a lot if you want to scratch your name off of it, or you can cut out your label or peel, if sometimes you can peel the label off. But either way, donating them to that kind of an environment, that'd be great. And and along that line, if you think about like a
dialysis center.
Thank you. Yes, a dialysis center that has people sitting there for hours at a time.
Also a Veterans Administration hospital.
Yes, right. They have big waiting rooms and people have to wait for a long time.
Long wait times, yeah.
That's a great idea. That's perfect. Exactly. And if you have a huge ton of magazines and you don't feel comfortable with dumping those in recycling, find yourself a waiting room and make the trip. That is a great, great idea. Thank you.
Denise added she's taking her, she's arranged with her dentist to drop off magazines tomorrow.
Oh,
because hers
excellent.
are more up to date than the ones they already have.
Excellent. Okay, this is one that I see a lot. Number 7. Do you have a million plastic grocery bags in your kitchen somewhere? When I go into clients' houses, I find little squirreled away up in this cabinet, shoved in this drawer, under the sink, next to the refrigerator, in the pantry. There's little wads of plastic bags sort of tucked in everywhere. And at some point it gets out of control because I guess people think, you know, oh, I'm just going to push another piece of plastic in there. It's like, well, sure, you can continue to stuff plastic in there forever because it collapses really well. But eventually you're going to fill up the space with plastic bags. So this is the perfect time because you're going to the grocery store however often you do, either a couple of times a month up to, you know, every couple of days you're going again with another couple of bags. And if you're not using recycle and you're bringing home plastic or paper, you're stuffing those somewhere most of the time. So this is a perfect spring cleaning project to go and pluck all of those out and make one big recycle bundle of these plastic bags, because there's some grocery store in your neighborhood that will recycle them. And there's a bin that you can go stuff them in. And so pull them out, pull from everywhere, make one big bundle and take that one bundle back to the store the next time you go shopping. It will make a huge amount of room and you can start your quarterly stuffing again with the new plastic bags. But in the meantime, you have created some air in your cabinets, which is really great. Number 8, time for all you moms out there to dig out all the paper that your kids have been bringing home from school. All kids come home with a constant barrage of paperwork in their backpack that is stuff that the teachers want you to look at, want you to sign. Here's the artwork they did. Here's the paperwork that they got graded and handed back, and it goes back and forth, and the kids come and dump it out, and you end up with this big pile of paper. We're in the middle of school year right now, so you may not feel comfortable tackling the stuff from this year, but it's the perfect time now that it's spring to go into last year's pile of paper and filter it now for the stuff that you actually want to keep. Now that there's some distance between you and when the stuff freshly came home and, oh, look, Mom, here's my new piece of artwork, right? This is stuff that's going to be a year old, and you have the whole year's worth of schoolwork to look at in one sitting. And so then you can pluck out, you know, the representative samples of the things that are really great examples of their artwork or schoolwork, and you can let the rest of it be recycled. And doing that in batches this year for last year's schoolwork, all the way they go through school, will save you a gazillion hours when your kids go off to college and you have this whole high school year, 12 years of school history that you've kept all this time for the kids. and they're going to be reacting badly when you want to box up the entire, closet full of their paperwork and ship it to them somewhere. So if you can work this spring on last year's schoolwork, then you can thin that herd down to something that is manageable, that you like to look at, that they might like to look at sometime in the future, and it won't be an overwhelming job. So get out that paperwork, filter through it, you'll be happy you did later. Okay, number 9 is check out the cabinets under the sink in the kitchen and the bathrooms. For some reason, those places are kind of mini junk drawers that when there's something that appears in the bathroom that you don't know what to do with, you kind of shove it under the sink. It seems to be the parking place for I don't know what to do with it under the kitchen and in the bathroom both. So sitting down one spring day that's lovely and pulling all those things out and deciding what really needs to be there. I have cleaning products for the kitchen that I'll use in the kitchen sink or use in the kitchen. That makes sense in there. Here's some cleaning towels. That makes sense in there. There may be other things that you want to have under there, but if it doesn't make sense there, then the stuff that has landed there by accident probably needs a new home. So you want to be able to easily get your cleaning materials in and out from under the sink, and whatever else you're storing under there. Sometimes people put the box of trash bags down there, or they put the extra soap under there or something. If it's a place that you want to use as sort of excess inventory for kitchen cleaning, that's fine, but you need to arrange it so that the excess is in the back and the stuff that you're using right now is in the front, that kind of attention. So pulling everything out and pulling anything that doesn't really make sense in there and finding it a new home, and then going back in and arranging the things so that they're easy to use is a perfect afternoon project. Doing that in the kitchen and also in all the bathrooms. Sometimes people like having, here's the bathroom cleaning stuff in the bathroom, and that's fine. If you have some cleaning materials in the bathroom that it's going to clean, that makes perfect sense. And then check and see what else is under there that doesn't make sense. It may be that you don't have a whole lot of cabinet space and you're having to use that for some storage. And so installing some containers in under there that, they make things that are specifically designed to stand around, here's the pipe in the middle, and there's a half of a container on top of a wider container below. There's things that are designed to work in conjunction with all the plumbing that's underneath the sink. It will help you containerize and manage the stuff that you actually want to be down there. Number 10, pick a file cabinet drawer. We all have a file cabinet in the house that's got full of paper. And the question is how old that paper is. If you go and pull any file cabinet drawer, I would start with the oldest one and just concentrate on one drawer. Don't worry about all of the cabinets drawers. Just pick one and let that be your afternoon project. And you can pull it out and make a first pass at all the files within that drawer. And even under a first pass parameter where you're not going to have to think too hard about it, you should be able to pull a bunch of paper out as out of date, no longer appropriate, don't need to retain it anymore, this is expired, I don't own that thing anymore, whatever the rules are around it as you go through. But there should be lots of files that you can filter and thin in that drawer without too much work. Now you may have to come back another day and make a second pass, and that second pass would be where you have to be a little bit more thoughtful and pay closer attention. But again, just like paperwork before, the older the paperwork, the easier it is to decide that it's okay to let it go. And so pick a drawer, make a first pass, open the files, flip them real fast and see what kind of stuff can come out in a hurry. And then you can get a little bit more breathing room in that file drawer. And you may find that you don't need anything in it and you can throw it all out and now you've got an empty file drawer. This is along the same lines of old paper is fast paper, right? The older it is, the easier it is to make the decision. So as a couple, I don't want to be committed all day. I just want to be committed for a couple of hours. Pulling out that file drawer and working through it is a great start to finish project you can get done in a few hours. Along the lines, now you're in the office, right? Let's talk about office supplies. Number 11 is who has a big stash of office supplies? And you have to ask yourself this question. I know that you love them all, but the question is, are you really going to use all these office supplies in your lifetime? You probably have enough office supplies to stock an office of 20 people, right? because we get it as gifts. We pick it up in any kind of a store. There's little supplies somewhere at the counter. You impulse buy it. It's one of those things that everybody sees it as useful and fun and cute, and we all grab it whether or not we have 150 pads of Post-it notes at home. We buy the next pad of Post-it note because it's in a fun color, right? And so this is one of those things that you can accumulate it over a period of time, end up with a huge quantity, and never in your lifetime possibly get through all of it. So this is one that's easy to filter. So go into your office or wherever you have the office supplies stashed, pull them all out and look at them and say, I have 150 Post-it note pads. I'm probably not going to write that many Post-it notes in my life. Maybe I can keep 10 and I can let the rest go. Because you know some teacher that is dying for office supplies. They're spending their own money to supply their classroom in the United States, which is shameful. And they're trying to do the best by their students. And so they're spending their own money. And you can take those office supplies and donate them to a school, a classroom, a daycare center, any kind of a nonprofit organization. If you give them supplies, then they don't have to spend money on the supplies that you are donating. So there's plenty of places where those supplies can be used, and you just have to get yourself filtered, get your contents down to what you're going to use in your house, get a working set, and then let the rest be donated away somewhere where somebody's going to use them right now. It's not usually, you're not going to be out a huge amount of money because you did. Office supplies aren't that expensive, and it'll be worth it to somebody who doesn't have to spend their own money on it. It's an easy thing to do in a short period of time. Number 12, computer geeks, you're up. So this project is one that is very recycle based. It's time to go find all the electronic gadgetry in your house that needs to be recycled. So there is probably 1 million cords, iPods, old phones, old computers, old iPads, old Nooks, electronic readers. I once helped somebody move out of the house, and they had lived there for a long time, and she and her husband were both early adopters. So they had huge amounts of technology in their house that were long since outdated, 20 years old. And in the tech world, 20 years is a brick. It's useless, right? So they had a ton of material. I actually filled my car to the brim with all of the electronic recycling they had. And then when I went to the recycling center, they're like, we don't normally take this much. We only take 5 things at a time. So I scared them a little bit at the recycling center, but I promised I wouldn't do it all the time, and they let me empty my car. If you have a bunch of recycling sitting around in various drawers, in corners, in parked, whatever, it's time to pull all those together and make a trip off to recycling and let them be reclaimed. There's metals inside the units that usually need to be reclaimed, and if you take them to a proper recycling center, the plastic and the metals will be pulled and the plastic will be recycled, and you can feel comfortable that it's not just going into the trash. It's worth that effort so that anything that is basically outdated, outmoded, isn't sitting around taking up space and making you crazy. And if you can pull the associated cables with it, then there's that many less cables in your house that you're fighting with going, what does this cable go to? Why is it here? I'm afraid to throw it away because I might need it. Except that if all of your current electronics have their cables and you know where the cables are, then you don't need the cables that are unmatched. You need them to go away. So let those get out of the way so that they don't make you insane. I'm always find a bin of, I don't know what these cables are, that somebody has thrown all the cables in a big bucket and stuffed them in a closet somewhere, and then they never look at them again. They never pay any attention to them. So it's just a way to reassure us that we're not throwing away something important. And truthfully, if you do throw something away important, you'll be able to go and buy another cable and it'll be okay. You'll be able to recover. But there's probably, 50 cables in your house that go to electronics that no longer work or you don't have or whatever, and it's time to let them go. So this is a project that you can concentrate on getting electronics out of the house, spend a couple of hours searching them all out, matching up their cables, and then donating that stuff, recycling that stuff to get it out of your house.
Natalie added, most of the domestic abuse centers will take your old cell phones.
Oh, that's true, because then they like reprogram them to dial 911. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. That works for the phones. They probably don't want the tablets and the e-readers and that kind of stuff. But if you have a bunch of phones laying around, and anybody that has more than, any family with, parents and kids, there's a bunch of phones floating around. And every time you change carriers or the phones, everybody gets upgraded, and suddenly you have a whole wad of phones that need to be laying around somewhere. So donating those, resetting them to the factory setting, wiping everything out, and giving those away is a great idea. Next, number 13, we're going to go in the kitchen. When was the last time that you emptied your pantry? Pantry is a great couple-hour project, and it's a very active zone. It's a place that you go in and out of all the time, and you're constantly adding new stuff in and pushing things to the back because you're pushing new shopping trip stuff into the front. And, after a few months, the pantry is pretty full unless you're a shopper that buys today for what you're going to cook today and that stuff circulates pretty quickly. If you sort of bulk buy and then shove it in the closet a lot, you may not use it as fast as you buy it. So the pantry is a place where you can pull stuff out, look for all the expired stuff and let that go. You can look for the things that you bought to try and then you didn't like it. Like I tried to get my family to eat quinoa and they hated it, or that I tried this cereal flavor and nobody liked it. There's going to be food in there that were attempts and fails, and those can go. Like if nobody's ever going to eat it, then you tried it, it's got to go, let it go. This is a perfect place to get rid of the old stuff, reset the pantry because it's such a high use, high traffic area. You need to pull out everything and here's the bag with, an inch of chips still in it and the chips are long since stale. Here's the bag of pasta that I opened and it's been open for a year because we didn't use all of it and I'm not sure I want to cook that anymore. You can make your own judgments about what your sense of safety about what is okay to eat and served or not, but use that filter to thin the contents and then reorganize what is put like with like and reorganize those contents and put back what you've got. A pantry is one that's not just an annual thing because it's so active. It's just like the fridge. You're constantly putting things in and out of it. And so resetting it once a quarter is a great project to make your life easier in the kitchen. And it keeps, if you do it once a quarter, you will stay aware of the contents of the pantry and you'll be able to go, oh yeah, I have that can of blah blah in there and I can use that today. You'll be more likely to use up what's there, and then when you buy fresh, you've got fresher product in there. So it's a great project to do in spring and reset, but also do that once a quarter, like spring, and then do it again in 3 months, and it'll make your ability to cook and function in the kitchen much easier. All right, after pantry, we're going to talk about number 14 is time to pull out all those receipts in your purse. This is true for men and their wallets as well, but we tend to grab receipts and stuff them into our purse without thinking about it. Every counter that you go to, you're buying something, somebody hands you a receipt and you shove it in the purse somewhere, right? And if you are not somebody who's actively churning those and taking them out and dealing with them, putting them where they're supposed to go, then your purse is full of a bunch of floating pieces of paper. So the spring cleaning project, the perfect thing to dig out, take your purse, clean out your purse, pull out the receipts, find out what needs to be there and what doesn't. They're not all tax receipts. They don't all have anything to do with deducting anything. So your food receipts are likely not something you have to worry about. Clearly the food is consumed, you can't return it. So any kind of eating, the only thing is if it's some kind of business expense, you want to save it if it's a meal with a client or if there's some kind of business purpose for that receipt. But otherwise, you're out with your girlfriends having a glass of wine and there's no getting that wine back, you've already drunk it. So this is the kind of receipt that after you make sure that it hit your bank properly, or a couple of days go by and nothing goes wrong, then you can wad that up and throw it away, right? If you use this as a clean all purses project, so if you're going to clean out your one purse that you're currently using, if you're one of those people that changes purses all the time or changes them every few months and you don't completely clean out the last one, it's time to pull all those purses out and clean them all at once. I promise you're going to find that lipstick you've been looking for months. It's in one of those purses that you never cleaned out. And it will remind you what purses you have back there. And if you clean out some of the purses and decide, yeah, I'm done with this and I would never carry it again, then you've cleaned it out and it's ready to be donated. So that's a great project to go pull all of the purses that have been in use and have stuff in them, dump all the contents out, sort, and then you can stock the current purse with what you want, and you can get a whole lot of trash out of there. I promise there's a lot of trash. So this is a perfect project to sit down for a couple hours. The men's equivalent of that is going to be the wallet, the laptop bag. If you have more than one laptop bag, I've had men clients who had 15 laptop bags because they like changing the laptop bag all the time. So if you're one of those persons that carries a bunch of different containers, just consider this your clean the container project and pull them all out and dump them all out and find out, oh yeah, I took all this stuff to the accountant and I never put it back in the files. Or I pulled out, you know, I was sick that week and here's all my dead Kleenexes that I need to throw in the trash. There's going to be a lot of stuff that'll be easy to throw away and there'll be plenty to recycle. And then you'll find the 3 receipts for here's the shirt you're trying to return and here's the receipt that needs to go in your tax file, and you'll find the few things that you need to keep up with, and then the rest can disappear. And you'll be so happy because the purses will be clean. And the wallets won't be 3 inches thick when you sit on them. Have you seen that? Like sometimes guys are like, they're like pushing the receipts, trying to pull their wallet and stuff in their pocket. Yeah, time to clean it out.
Denise
Number 15.
Added,
oh, yes.
Sorry, Denise added, some shops here are asking now if you want the receipts, and that's happening. That seems to be happening more and more here as well, and especially for all the little bitty papers from the cash register when you buy bread or a newspaper. And yeah, if you're not using a credit card that you're going to want to reconcile, if you're spending cash and it has no tax implications, go ahead and say no.
No, don't need that receipt, right? Yeah, and I've noticed too that people that are using Square registers, where you sign electronically at the register, you know, you don't have to have that receipt either. So it'll send it to you by email, or you can refuse it. They won't automatically print it. So you're right. And isn't that wonderful? Because we don't need to wad that piece of paper up and put it in our purse anyway. You'll know when you're standing there, this is a business receipt. I need to pay attention to this. I might, you know, I'm buying these clothes for the kids to try on and I might have to bring it back. You'll know whether it's a receipt you need to keep up with or whether you don't care, right? So I think it's totally worth it to say no as many times as you can. Is there anything else, Ed?
Yeah, Petra added, same here. Also, we don't get free plastic bags any longer. You have to pay for them. That brought down the number of plastic bags considerably. So yeah, if you carry your own bags, you can cut down on the clutter, cut down on the plastic going into the landfill, and save a little money, save 10 cents or whatever they're charging.
Right. So then here's the clutter that's generated by reusable bags. So when you go shopping with reusable bags and you bring groceries in, most of the time the groceries get unloaded. But when you use reusable bags for durable goods, a lot of times people will bring them home and then not unpack them. They don't consider it part of the shopping expedition to come home and undo it. So that's when you're going to find those. I went to the store, I bought fill in the blank, I put it in my closet because I didn't want to deal with it. And then 3 months later, you're digging out that bag and emptying it in order to, oh yeah, I went to Target and bought that fill in the blank, right? And people use them to take, here I'm taking my paper to the accountant, here I'm going to go meet my friend, here I'm going to that meeting, and here's all the contents for that meeting. And then they come home with the bag and they don't unpack it. So you just have to loop into your routine. When I bring a reusable bag home, I need to unpack the contents and do what I'm going to do with the contents when I come home. Otherwise, it's going to get parked in the corner, and then you're going to have 15 bags sitting around going, where are all my reusable bags? Oh, they're all full of stuff from previous trips. So just make sure you loop that the process in, and then you'll be in good shape. Are we okay? Can I go on?
Yes.
Okay. Number 15 is think about the bathroom stash of lotions and potions and makeup that you have in your house. This is one of those gifts that is If you think about the holidays and you go in every store, there's some little table somewhere that's covered with gift boxes that have lotion, body wash, air spray, you know, that kind of stuff in it. And they're sort of super generic, easy gifts to give people. And they have male and female versions. You know, they have ones that have, you know, men's scents in them, for instance. We also buy that stuff for ourselves. We also receive it as gifts at other times of the year. You take the shampoo and the conditioner and the soap from the hotel when you go to the hotel room. We all have tons of stash of body cleaning products, hair, shampoo, conditioner, any kind of lotion, mask, whatever. There's a million things like that, right? This is a perfect thing to go and decide, okay, this is a volume that I can never use in my lifetime. I am one shampoo bottle that is, you know, 12 ounces or 16 ounces is going to take you 3 months to use. So if you have 15 of them, you're looking at years worth of shampooing that are already in your house right now. So the idea of keeping all of those things because they're useful is not a sufficient filter, because you know that you have more than you can physically use in your lifetime, or in a reasonable, in a decade. You can't use them in the decade before they start to turn and you don't feel comfortable using that lotion on your skin anymore because it smells funny. So this is the kind of product that you should have the stock of things that you like and a little bit of back stock, not a huge amount, and then all of that excess needs to go somewhere else. And this is the perfect thing to take to a women's shelter, a men's shelter, any kind of a nonprofit that's providing services, a church that has a refugee program or resettlement program, or, you know, emergency support. Your house is on fire and we provide you with, you know, additional stuff. That kind of, there's all those kinds of projects out there that are happening where people are trying to help others in desperate need, and they can use these kind of products. And so taking them out of your house and not letting them die in your cabinet, but indeed sending them on somewhere where there's a high volume of use would be a great use of these products. And it's an easy thing to do. You've received scents that you don't like. You've received flavors that you don't like the feel of, you don't like the smell of, you don't like the consistency of. There's all kinds of products in your house, in your bathrooms right now that is never going to get used, nobody likes, needs to go. So cull through that whole collection, pick the ones you like. If you have a bunch of makeup, you need to go through and make sure that they pass the safety test, they pass the smell test. You don't want to be using makeup that's liquidy or lotiony or ointmenty that is, you know, decades old. Who knows what's growing in there, right? So you need to be safe about what you put on your face, and you need to be using the current products. And then the rest of it needs to go. And some of the stuff, it really should go in the trash. But in whatever your threshold is, you use your own judgment. And then let's take the stuff that you're not going to use in the next decade or the next 5 years or the next year. Let's let all of that go on to some place that could really use the products. There's no reason to keep 150 bottles. And I have seen 150 bottles in somebody's house. Like, it's not, everybody thinks of it as useful. And yes, you can use body wash forever and okay, but you personally can't use 150 bottles in your lifetime. And so putting that somewhere where they can be useful is a really good thing to do, and get you a whole bunch of space back and get you with the products that you actually want to use and that you will enjoy using. And that's the point. Next, number 16, if you have kids, it's time to recycle their clothes, right? Little kids grow out of their clothes in a big hurry. Certainly the younger ones, they change clothes really quickly. Probably a couple times a year, they're in a new size again. And so springtime is a perfect time to go in and go, okay, I'm in the kids' closet, and you know exactly what they can and can't wear. You've been putting it on them all year. So it's easy for you to go in and vet and say, I don't, you know, they can't wear this anymore. This is now too stained. Oh, this one's so cute. I love this one. Kids' clothes can be cycled out and left with the things that actually work. And if you're like saving or boxing things for a younger kid, You want to pull those out of the closet. If the current kid can't wear them and the younger kid isn't big enough yet, it's time to pull those out and box them and put them away. Throw out the things that have been destroyed, that the kids have, gotten the marker on, that they've thrown up on too many times, whatever, anything that's too stained, you can filter that out. And this is a perfect time to donate to your girlfriends that has younger kids, donate to a local shelter. There's always places for kids' clothing to be donated that will actually get used. So use this spring project as a couple hours in the kids' closet to filter out their clothes and cycle in. It's time to see what they're short of and what they have grown out of, and give them a good working set and get all the things that don't matter anymore out of their face, because they don't want to have to filter through it to find the clothes that fit either. And that'll be true the older that they get, the less likely they're going to want to be looking at the stuff that they can't possibly wear. So time to filter out the kids' clothes. Okay, number 17, I'm going to say the word of the day. The word of the day today is shoes. We all love our shoes, and we all have way too many of them. Almost everybody that I go into their house, they have absolutely too many shoes. It's time as a spring project to look at your shoes and decide which ones can be moved on. Because you got shoes in there where the plastic is starting to get sticky, and there are rubber soles that are starting to crumble from old age. Like, not all of the products of the shoe have the same shelf life, and they don't survive as long. So you think the shoe is in great shape, and then all of a sudden you reach in to put it on and the insole crumbles on your foot. It's dying in there. The materials that are used to make the shoes are dying at different rates, and so there are going to be some materials that die sooner than others. You need to go in there, match up the shoes. There's things in there that are sizes too small that you'll never be able to get into. There are things in there that you had a momentary, brain aneurysm, and you bought a color or a heel height or a strap or something that didn't work, it looks terrible, you would never put on. All those need to come out. People that are madly in love with their shoes usually give over a huge amount of storage space to shoes, but the truth is, if you haven't touched them in a while, you need to go in and touch them again. You need to put them on. You need to see if you would actually wear them or if they hurt. You need to see if the materials are dying in place, even though they look perfectly okay in their boxes. You need to pull them down and see if anything's fallen apart. This is the time to filter out the shoes and give yourself more room to keep the ones that you're actively using and currently love. If you're one of those people with 200, 800, 1,500 pairs of shoes, all the more reason to go through and make sure all the materials are in good shape. And, thin out the herd, because you're going to keep buying them. You might as well get rid of the ones you're not going to wear, right? I know it's the people that are into shoes, it makes their head explode to think about giving up shoes. But even if you just get rid of 10% and you get rid of the ones that are actually falling apart, you will be making some space that will help, right? And it will help you manage what you're keeping. So with that in mind, go process your shoes. I'm just saying.
A couple
Yes.
more comments.
Go ahead.
Denise said our local food bank accepts clothes. The food bank can be used by anyone. 2 weeks ago, we dressed a man for a job interview, and he got the job.
Yay! That's awesome.
And
That's
she
very
also
cool.
added, the Red Cross sells old unwearable clothes by weight and uses the money to give food vouchers or buy fuel or gas for people.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea. Okay, so cool. Those are all good donation locations. Thank you. Okay, we're down to number 18. Number 18 is your bedside table. Your bedside table is the catch-all that on your way to bed, as you're falling asleep, all these things get tossed over onto the bedside table. If you're somebody that reads in bed, or if you retire to bed to relax, take naps during the day, or you spend an hour or two before you go to sleep at night, or if you spend a half an hour before you go to sleep at night, where you're functioning in the bed before you go to sleep, there's going to be a huge amount of stuff on that nightstand that, here's the medicine that you were taking while you had a cough, and here's your water, and here's the cough drops, and here's the Kleenex, and here's the cords, and here's the blah, 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 right? There's always a million stuff in the nightstand. This is a perfect thing to take as a spring project and empty out that bedside table. All the mail that you took to bed to read, all the magazines that you took to bed to read, all of the medicines and things that came out of the bathroom, all of the change that came out of pockets. There's no telling what's on that bedside table. I've seen a vast array of things that have been taken to bed to deal with and then put on the table. So this is clearly a very active zone for most people, and resetting that once a quarter, it will really make it easier for you to get ready for bed and do your thing. So it's probably a lot of stuff that need to go live somewhere else. It's time to take off the things that really, you used them for a minute and now you're not using them. It needs to go back to where it came from. There's probably magazines in there that need to be part of the magazine cull. When you're going to do the great magazine hunt, you need to go find the ones that went to the bedside tables and pull them out. Book readers usually have a ton of books by the bedside table. The ones they're reading and the other 17 that they read last year and the other 18 that they're going to read next year, there's usually a lot of books around the table. So making a way for those to not live exactly on the bedside table, but maybe be stored some other place nearby would make your bedside table a little bit more functional. And then you can use it for, I'm reading this book, these 2 big books, these 3 books right now. And you only have those on there instead of everything that's in waiting or already complete. This is just a zone that you want to use for what really helps you get ready for bed and helps you relax in the bed and the things that you like to do there. And you don't want it to be overloaded, things falling off the side. If it falls off the bedside table, it's likely to end up behind the bed or against the wall, and you're going to lose track of stuff. So this is one of those places where having a few shallow containers to hold things so that they don't just slide off the back of the bedside table is a good idea. And to thin the herd regularly so that it still functions for you as a useful space when you come to bed. So cleaning that off and resetting that space is a great couple-hour project. You can do 2 sides of the bed, and if there's drawers or little cabinets or shelves as part of the bedside table, depends on how your table is built, of course, but it's usually something that you can handle in an hour or 2, and it's a perfect project to get your spring reset. And here's the last one for today. Number 19 is the garage. And I say the garage because the garage has a lot of hot spots. Clearly, cleaning out the garage is not a afternoon project. There's hardly any garage in the United States that can be done in an afternoon. It's usually an entire weekend or 2 weekends of work to clear out and reset a garage. However, there are usually little hot spots in the garage. If you go stand in this corner and work on this pile, you can work with the gardening tools, or you can work with here's where we've been tossing all the cardboard boxes to be recycled or saved for mailing someday, right? There's always a little squirrel pile in the garage that you can go spend a couple of hours, and you can do it on a beautiful spring day when it's lovely outside, and you can leave the garage door open and you can be out there in the lovely air. In August, in July in Houston, you can't do that outside because you will have heat stroke. So this is the time that you need to do it. In other parts of the country, it won't be the same, but for us, going in the spring in the garage is the time where it's actually pleasant enough that you can be out there without having to go to the emergency room for, sunstroke. So don't tackle the entire garage in one sitting. You want to pick an area that, here's a bunch of trash or recycling that I threw out there. This is the place where the garage is the place where everything goes to die. When you are sick of looking at it in the house, but you can't quite deal with it, you're not ready to face it, you will throw it out in the garage to deal with it later, or I can store it in the garage and then I don't have to give it up. This is the place, the last stand where something goes and still belongs to you on its way out the door. And the truth is, if it's been sitting out in the garage for a really long time, you can probably go look at it and say, yeah, I really need to do the final step and send this on to donation. I need to put this out for heavy trash. I need to, take this back to my friend, whatever it is, why ever it got banished to the garage, you need to, pick the last step and take it on. And so this is a place where you can go and find some of those. I need to deal with this little squirrel pile of, here's this big bundle of recycling that I never took. Well, it's time to go. Here's the Christmas decorations that I didn't want to put up or I didn't want to use this year. Well, I need to put them up or donate them. Whatever it looks like for you and whatever it translates for. In your garage, find the piece that is the one afternoon corner and, you know, hang out in the lovely air and clean out that one corner of your garage. You'll be happy you got started, and, you know, you can spend a few weekends in a row doing a little corner and eventually make your way around the garage and get it ready for the summer. Because then, you know, you got to start doing more gardening and more yard work, and you have to spend a whole bunch more time in the garage. So think of it as the beginning of your spring clean out for summer beautifulness in the yard. Okay, so that is our list. Try a few of these. Clearly, if you did all 19 of them, you would be spending your entire weekend in the house, and that is no fun on a spring day. So pick the couple of them in here that resonate for you and spend a few hours straightening some stuff up, and do that a couple weekends in a row, and then go out in the lovely air and enjoy your spring when it shows up. We don't want you to miss the beautiful, sunny, lovely sky that is on its way. I promise it's coming. I'm telling myself that as I'm looking out at the gray and rainy weather right now. Okay, so who has comments or questions now for us?
Well, I put out a last call for questions on the chat, and all I got back was Denise saying, "I'm fine," just going, oh my God, that is so true." We're about out of time.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So,
wonderful.
But before we go, I want to let everyone know about upcoming events.
Oh, yes, please.
Our next online Clutter Conversation event will be on Tuesday, March 26th, 12:01 p.m. Central Time. We'd love for you to join us live. Visit cfhou.com/HCCM1903. I'm going to put that in the chat, and I'll also show it on the screen for people who are not watching live.
Watching the video later. Okay.
There you'll find information about how to participate in the meeting. On Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m., we'll meet in person at a Healing Collective in Houston.
Wish you could come, Denise.
And I'll put a URL for the chat and on the screen for that one as well. We'll announce topics for both of those events soon. If you'd like to receive notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the Meetup group at meetup.com/Houston-Clutter-Coaching. You can also follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our mailing list. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us your questions and topic suggestions in the YouTube comments. And you can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Okay, that's it. We are so glad you guys came today. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Happy spring!